Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. It's Michelle Wong here. Hey everybody. Today I have a very special guest, Jill Pagano, who is a well-being visionary, and she is also the author of Getting Happy with Your Body. And Jill and I are dear friends, and I'm so happy to have you on, Jill. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, and congratulations for having this podcast.
Yay!
Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been having so much fun with it, and just being able to talk to amazing people like yourself is just such a gift and a treasure. So I thought what we would do today is talk a little bit about your journey and then a little bit about your book, because your book is incredible.
Thank you.
And like right now I know people who are listening, it's on podcast, but eventually when we get this on YouTube, you'll be able to see the book or on Amazon. But it's such a happy, it's a happy book. I love that there's lollipops, it's pink, like it's what you wouldn't think a wellness book would have.
Which is exactly why I put lollipops on the cover. That's so astute of you to pick that up, because I wanted to, two things. One, if you ask any of my family members, they'll tell you that I love sugar, that like sugar is my downfall. Forget the booze, forget the drugs. I mean, sugar is a drug anyway, but that's my drug of choice. And so part of me was like, hey, I just have to kind of like a nod to the sugar addict in me, but also because I wanted to be contrarian, because there is so much wrapped around like getting happy with my body means I have to be perfect and I have to like eat perfectly all the time. And most people might think that it should have an apple on the front or some beautiful herbs, and not that that would be wrong, but like for me, I wanted it to be sweet. I wanted people to go, what? Candy on the cover? Are you kidding? And I mostly wanted it to be really welcoming, because that represents who I am and my philosophy.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the book, but I felt like as I was reading it, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, this is like a girlfriend's book. It's so welcoming, non-judgmental, and like, it's just so wonderful. Yeah, and speaking of like lollipops, I mean, people who are listening to the podcast can't see it, but you have like a bouquet of lollipops behind you.
I know. Here they are.
I love it.
I went on Pinterest and I was like, okay, along with the branding of the book, which you can see right here, I'm like, what can I decorate on the fly for my book launch? And so we made this lovely little vase with lollipops, and you have a styrofoam
God,
ball.
It's genius.
Oh no, oh, thank gosh for Pinterest. And then I just stuck the lollipops in it. A friend actually helped me. So yes.
I love it. Yay, dum-dums.
I know, isn't it true? So true.
So Jill, you have so many years of movement background. You've also taught wellness, and you're a trainer. So like movement is in you, as you shared in your book, but I'd love to hear your story of just like your background and then what brought you to writing your book.
Sure. I'll keep it brief for my 50, almost 3 years. I don't want to go too far back, but so often I've heard before, and professionals will say, look back at what we did in childhood and what we really loved in childhood, and that somehow shows us what's to come, what our aptitudes are for the future. And when I look back at childhood, I was always moving. I write in the book that like my nickname was Shaky Jake, because I would just be laying on the floor watching TV, and I'd have a knee moving, there's foot tapping, and my dad would be like, Jill, Shaky Jake, stop moving. So, and I was often told I was moving too fast or too big. I broke a lot of things. Like I'd reach for something, I'd be dancing around, I'd knock a vase over. So yes, all that to say that movement really is in me. I went from, moving into college and things like that. I had opportunities where I got to explore movement in college. It's where I was introduced to dance, even though I had absolutely no dance experience whatsoever. I did get to dance in college, and that really woke up something in me that I didn't know I had. I used to just dance in the basement when I was growing up, and then like through college, I got to dance on stage. And but after college and after having that love, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't going to go to New York and become a professional dancer. That wasn't my. I didn't have that aptitude, and it wasn't my calling. So I went into fitness. It was the early 90s. It was so like I don't know, maybe the end of Jane Fonda or the beginning of Jane Fonda, right in there with the Jane Fonda area. And right when we were really getting into dance fitness, and it's like such a natural to go like, well, if you can't dance, strap on some tennis shoes and let's just bounce our heart out to music. That's close.
I love it.
Yeah, it was an incredible time. And this is when group exercise classes would have we'd have 50 people in class. I mean, we would just be sweating and the music would be pounding. It was a really great era. And along with that great era, and I that's where I would work at my desk during the day, and I would go on the evenings and the weekends and teach group exercise. And eventually I just couldn't do the desk job anymore. So I slid out of desk job work and into personal training and into dance aerobics, group exercise. And it was wonderful. I loved it, except that my body was telling me that it wasn't having as good a time as I was having. So in the course of a few years, I started getting symptoms and signs really from my body that even though I was happy, it wasn't happy. So I went through a course of, Epstein-Barr virus. I had so many injuries that were just repetitive injuries that I thought, oh, well, this is just kind of what comes along with doing this kind of job. Everything from shin splints to thoracic outlet syndrome to I could just probably name plantar fasciitis, you know them. So when that happened, I had to reevaluate, what am I doing? But I wasn't ready to give up on dance aerobics. I still love to move. So I was at an IDEA convention, and that's where I was introduced to a different kind of dance movement. And you and I know it as the Nia technique. Yeah. But for those people who don't, it's a way to move your body and to dance fitness without the pounding. And it's really more holistic. So this was back in 1996.
Wow.
So that's when my life changed. I had introduction to that class.
It's so funny because I've known you for so long. I did my Nia white belt with you, but I don't think it was until we reconnected again. I was like, oh my God, I did my white belt with you. I trained with you. And so kudos to Nia, because I used to be like a hardcore gym rat myself. And I loved fitness classes because it was way nicer than the treadmill. And there was music, and I was, following the teacher. But it wasn't until I was introduced to Nia that I was like, oh my God, I felt like I returned home. Yeah. And I think you wrote that in the book as well.
I did. Yeah. I did, and I did feel that way. It's just something in me kind of clicked, and it's where the dancer and the mover and the exerciser all came together, and it was incredibly eye-opening. Some of the language and the very first class that I took that really I didn't understand that my arena of fitness was really hardcore, and that's what I had plugged into, and that there was a whole other thing besides exercise. I didn't have the concept, even though I had been a dancer, and in dance we never talk about exercising. We talk about expressing ourselves, we talk about emoting. I was in dance theater in college. We never talked about how many calories we were burning on stage or anything like that. We were instead sharing a message and creating art with our bodies. so when I came back around to dance fitness, like somatic movement, which is what Nia is, where was asked to sense my body and to express myself through my body, it was like, oh, that's right. That's right. This is another avenue to move, to utilize my body, to connect myself deeper through my body. And that's the path I've been on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then last year you published, was it last year? Has it already been a year ish?
Thank goodness, no. It feels like it. I wrote the book last year, and
That's
then it
right.
came out in February of
February.
2019.
That's right,
Yeah.
this year. Oh my God, 2019 feels like we've been in it for a while.
I'm so with you. I feel like I have just been kind of in this spiral, not even a spiral. I'm in like a little bit of a washing machine. I'm just like, the water is just draining now. I'm like, okay, I love fall. So that helps to kind of feel like, okay, moving forward now.
Yeah, there's a transitioning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were writing your book last year, and what compelled you to write the book?
I always knew I would write a book. I always wanted to write a book. When I was a freshman in college, the summer of my freshman year, after I started teaching aerobics, I actually wrote an aerobics manual. And I do this because we don't really call them aerobics anymore. We call it group exercise. But
Jill is air quoting.
I'm air quoting. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I'm air quoting aerobics because we call them group exercise now. But I wrote my first book back then. I wish I could find it. I just remember laying in my bed and writing. But for this book, it really happened over the course of a couple of years. And I wouldn't even sit down and try and write. I just felt compelled. It was as if something was coming out of me, and I would just take my yellow pad and just start writing whatever was on my mind and in my heart. And then I just put it in file folders and filed it away. And I did that for, well, some of the writings are dated back to like as early as 2008. I just kept doing that until I felt that I had an awakening that it was time to stop teaching, and it was time to start writing and putting it together. And that's what the year was like. It was not an easy year.
Yeah, I mean, it's to commit to writing. Yeah, that's a lot. Mm-hmm.
It's the sitting, and I have a stand-up desk and all that, but it was the discipline of sitting down and organizing thoughts, and I mean, all of it, paying attention more and being more disciplined. But a lot of it was the sitting. The problem of just takes time to sit.
Especially if you're a shaky Jake.
I know. See, I'm on my. You see me. I'm on my little. I have a swapper. Have you ever heard of the swappers?
Is that one of those balls?
It's sort of. It's a chair.
It's got the
European.
springs.
It's got the springs in it, and you can bounce, and you can wobble around. And
I love it.
I'm over here. People can't see that, but if you ever get the video, you'll see me bouncing like a little jumping bean.
Yeah. So then, with your book, like, what I love about it is the stories that you share about your own journey. And then it's mixed or sprinkled in with, like, it's a workbook.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also like you teach, like you're teaching, like, and so, and it's like I said in the beginning, like, it's non-judgmental. And so it's like, as a reader, like, I feel your journey and just like how, like, your relationship with your body. And I feel like it gives us all permission to not have to be perfect.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. I really appreciate you saying all those things, because that was my intent going in. In fact, at one point I have 3 whiteboards in my office. They're mostly white now, but when I was writing the book, they had like words all over them. And one of the phrases that I circled, and I almost put this picture in the book because I did take a picture of it, was, how do I share without telling people what to do? without saying you have to eat this way, you have to drink this much, you have to move this much. So that was a real North Star for me, was to share my story, was to share my process, but also to watch out for language like you have to do this, or you should do this, or this is what's right. Because truth be told, I don't know what's right for you. I'm still learning what's right for me. That's this journey of life. And so the book is designed, especially the journaling questions and sharing my story, is designed to percolate and excavate within each of us, so that we come to our own awareness versus being spoon fed someone else's awareness or philosophies. And then we get to digest a little bit more. The writing portion of it is really what helps in digesting. We kind of get the words out, we write them, and then we kind of digest a little bit of like, wow, I didn't even know that was in me until my pencil hit the paper. So yeah, that's what we were trying to, that's what I was hoping for. That's what I still hope for every time someone buys the book.
Mission accomplished, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
yeah. And like one of the things like for me and my messaging and my work is really around inner leadership. And like part of inner leadership also imbues inner confidence. And like when I was reading your book, I was like the way back to our own confidence, into our own leadership, it's all the inner work and getting in touch with our body and letting our body guide us. That's the wisdom. It's not what's in our head. It's not what other people are saying. It's all about what's within. And I feel like your book is such a great map for that, because it's really tapping into, well, what's your relationship with your body? And you talk about in your book, like, it's like your relationship with your friends and your family members. Like there's also that relationship, but also the one with yourself, your body. And you delineate that so well.
Oh, thank you. I tell the story in the book of meeting with this woman who was running into and discussing. I didn't run into her because she's a Lyft driver. I called on her services, and she drove me in Phoenix to my son's baseball game. And as we were talking, of course, the small talk, what do you do? And so I said, well, I help people have a relationship with their body. And she was like, I don't, and I loved it because she really just put me on the spot. She goes, I don't get what you mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's so easy. I wouldn't have gotten it either, except for my experience in Beyond Fitness, where someone asked me to sense my body, and that opened a doorway for me. And so when she said that, like, I don't get what you mean, that in that moment, I had to reckon within myself that, that's not an easy concept for people. And if I go back to my fitness only self, I don't know. I obviously didn't have that much of a relationship. My relationship with my body was very dictatorship. So I had to, in that moment, speaking with the Lyft driver, I had to formulate, how do I bring this into context? And yes, we have relationships with everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have a relationship with our smartphone, like
True.
We take care of it, we track it, we make sure it's, it's charged, we insure it, certain things that we do to be with it. Well, we do that with people, and we have that opportunity to be with our body, and to the word evaluate comes up, but that sounds a little harsh, but to maybe you have a better word for that, to recognize.
Yeah, or
maybe
witness.
To recognize. Witness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How am I being with my body? What is that relationship like? If I put my body as a friend or a lover or a family member, what does that say about how I'm treating it, what I'm asking from it, and do I listen to it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know with your experience, since you've worked with so many people with, movement and their bodies, how you find typically their relationship to be. Do you find that most people are hard on themselves and their bodies?
That's probably the number
Yeah.
one. I think it's the fourth chapter, I go through the body archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
which really came to me after working with a woman uh, who was in chronic pain. And she really had pain written all over her face. And she came to me looking for something else. And not only did she have pain on her face, but the way she held her body, I could tell that, her arms were close to her body, her hands were slightly cupped like fists, not gripping, but cupped. Just her energy was very close to her core. And both you and I have had injuries where we understand how pain, for me, it consolidates my movement so that I can be more in control, so that I don't feel like I'm in pain, so I don't have a painful episode. So when I was working with her, I could see, based on something she said to me, I go into depth in the book. I got to sense and understand more of these different archetypes that individuals have. Working with a lot of different people, almost like stereotypes, but more archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
where they present themselves as their bodies betrayed them, the body betrayer, or they are the body innocent, where they're like, I have no idea, I don't know, I'm not sure, and they truly aren't. And not to make fun of them, but just to be like, that's an archetype of like having no idea what's going on below the neck. The body bully is the number one archetype that I saw in my setting. It doesn't mean that I don't know that it's everywhere, but my experience was this people. Also, it was my own personal experience, so take that into consideration. But it's where we bully our body into, based on either what our ego, our mind, our expectations are.
Mm. Yeah, those are really powerful. The breakdown of it, yeah. Because it's like, it wasn't until I saw those, I'm like, oh, I wonder, like, do I fall into any of these, And like, I brought that up because, like, with my knee injury, and I'm like still healing with it, or from it, or healing.
Yeah.
Like the message from a lot of the, like, their spiritual practitioners, or the ones who are more just the wellness based ones, are like, you need to send love, like you need to just shine love on it, like massage it, touch it lovingly, and like that, like I'm glad that that's the relationship I have with my body. Like, I try to be as nurturing as possible, and so when I hear people be harsh on themselves or on their body, it does, like, it kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah,
because it's a relationship. Yeah.
right. And the body is very innocent innocent and very attentive to us, and it really is devoted, singularly devoted to us. It doesn't have any, I mean, that's such a powerful statement, that our body is singularly devoted to our well-being, our playfulness, our from mistakes that we make, innocent mistakes. Our body is just devoted to allowing us and supporting us in the life that our ego, our personality, and our spirit want to live. And it's just like this loving servant to us. And I will say, knowing that, there are still times where I am not great to my body.
Yeah.
And it's not that I like mean to be mean. It's like, oh, I mean, it's just that energy of like, oh, I can just do a little bit more. I just want to clean these steps off, and just, scraping moss off concrete steps or something. And it's like, maybe by hour 2, it's time to take a break. So
Totally. Oh my God.
yeah.
What you were saying, like our bodies like singularly devoted to us, I'm like about to cry because it's so beautiful and it's true. Yeah.
I know. And I hold space for people who hear that and go, glad you're there, but I'm not. Because I hold space for just to open that a possible doorway for them to know that they too can develop in towards that. They can develop towards understanding how the body is devoted to them, even if right now it doesn't feel that way. Even if right now, there's that extra 5, 10, 20, 100 pounds on their body, and their body feels awful to them. I understand that. I understand. I've had enough injuries and enough illnesses in my 53 years to be upset with my body, even though it's only giving me information. That sciatic nerve that's screaming is simply providing information for me, even though I'm frustrated by it, I'm exhausted by it, I'm tired by it, I'm annoyed because it makes me feel older and I can't do what I want to do. you know. So I just encourage people to, if that seems like a nice sentiment, oh, my body is devoted to me, how nice, to understand that it's a process in getting there, that it can be. It also can be just a light bulb moment, and that to not make themselves feel any worse about themselves if they aren't there yet.
This might be putting on the spot, but what would you suggest as like the first step if someone is willing or wanting to? Like, what would be the first step?
They could come about it a couple of different ways. And this is something I do address in the book, is that some people really like to be mental in their approach towards their body, that they're thinkers. And so for someone who is a real thinker that wants to, like, in a way, be logical about this, like, okay, my body is devoted to me, prove it to me. So for that thinker, the person who likes mental stimulation, I would just start Googling some really cool facts about the body, because then we get to see, like, wow, when I eat this, my body is doing this so that everything's okay. When it gives me a little pain, it's simply, this is, this nerve is acting a certain way, so that if they do more mental research about it. And then the person who's more emotional about it, tends to be a more emotionally guided person, they can begin to go through the emotional realm and perhaps even journal about how they feel about their body. And that doesn't have to be all these beautiful things. It can be the good, bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful as well, the gratitude that comes in. For someone who's more spirit-based, they might be able to connect in more to how we are part of a bigger universe. The body is part of a bigger universe. So whatever way people approach it, it's a way that means something to them, versus doing and this kind of gets back to, like, I just don't like to tell people what to do,
totally.
But like, what is their natural tendency? Do they like to use their mind? Do they want to feel more, or are they more spirit, soul based? And to enter into a relationship with their body via any of those avenues.
That's good. That's a good, it's a good approach. I like that.
That's in the book too.
Yes. And speaking of which, where can people get your book, Getting Happy with Your Body?
Getting Happy with Your Body. They can get it on Amazon. They can go to my website, jillpagano.com, which has a really lovely, lovely book page. So just shout out to Kiana McLeod, who is my art director. Oh, she makes everything beautiful. So
your website is beautiful.
Oh my God, I could never have done that, ever. Like, she is a goddess and a queen, and she just made everything look beautiful. So go to the website. I have free gifts on my website. I love to give free gifts.
jillpagano.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
Pagano.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes. And then,
sweet.
yeah. And then where can people learn more about you if they want to like connect with you on social media?
I am on Instagram. Yes, I finally am there. So it's Jill Pagano, Happy Body Habit. So that, and Facebook is my name. I mean, just Google my name, Jill Pagano, Pagano. For
Perfect.
Facebook, I have a business page as well as a personal page. Just please connect.
Yay. Yeah, I'll include all of that. And thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
love.
being on here.
Oh, you are just divine for allowing me this time and space to just share what I love. I look forward to more people learning about how they can have their own personal relationship with their body. I look forward to hearing from them. Like
Yes.
I love to hear. Go ahead, tell me what worked, what didn't work. It's a real privilege to just share. I mean, it's my mission is to share what I learn and what I love. So.
I'm so glad you wrote it. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm glad it's done. And like fly, be free book. You're out of me and into the hands of the world.
Yay. Well, awesome, Jill. Thank you so much.
I want to take a picture of us.
Oh, yes. Okay. Little selfie.
I know. How do I do like, I'm like, how do I do it? A selfie. There we are.
We're gonna selfie. Hi.
Oh my gosh. I don't
Awesome.
know. It's like a picture for those of you listening, a picture of my iPad with Michelle, and then my phone is in the way.
Oh, I love it. Please tag me.
I will. Can I post it today?
Yes.
Just to say it's something
course.
That's to come. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I will do it.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Till next time. God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.